Welcome to another edition of our PSU Presser. Corey Geiger, Neil Riddell. Just got finished with Bill O'Brien's weekly press conference. Coach is in a very good mood today, Neil, coming off the bye week. Obviously, they got to enjoy a good bye week after beating Michigan. Now they've got a huge test in Ohio State. A very good team, a top 5 team, one that thinks it has national championship aspirations. This is an enormous challenge for this team.
Yeah, what a great barometer to be able to go out there and find out where you stand. I mean, 19 in a row. It's interesting. O'Brien and Meyer came in the same year. There was some speculation that maybe Meyer was going to be a candidate for this job, and then he took the Ohio State job. And, boy, he's inherited a great program out there. And the fact that it's at night, I think, Penn State's in some ways, you'd like to see a pick-em game. You'd say that's a perfect situation. They're a huge underdog, so really, unless they get blown out, I think that they'll, you could exceed. It's sort of a win-win situation.
Yeah, I think barometer is the right way to put it. You need to find out where you are. But then again, we are talking about one team with 60 scholarships and a top 5 team with 85. So this is a very difficult challenge. Bill O'Brien was asked a couple times today about it being a rivalry, and obviously Penn State versus Ohio State's a rivalry. But Ohio State probably looks at it a little bit differently. Ohio State is the hunted really every week. They're a target. They've got a target on their back. When you're a top 10 team, they've got to be prepared every single week for somebody's best effort.
Yeah, and at times they haven't been. Now, I think the fact that this game's at 8 o'clock will have their full attention. Ohio State's been a team that you turn on, and all of a sudden, Cal has them on the run. I don't think they really put Buffalo away for a while. Iowa last week came in as an 18-point underdog and gave Ohio State. But when you have an 8 o'clock game, that usually gets everybody focused, and I would expect Ohio State to play pretty well.
For me, the bottom line is I think Ohio State's the best team in the Big Ten, but I think it also speaks to where the Big Ten is. Ohio State barely beaten Northwestern, and Northwestern's really fallen on hard times the past couple weeks. Barely beat Iowa. Ohio State's a very good team. I wouldn't put them in that upper echelon of the handful of best teams in the country that I think have a legitimate chance to beat an Alabama, Oregon, Florida State for a title.
Maybe not. I think maybe they'd be a slight cut below. I would put them against the best teams in the country now. I think there's the SEC, and now it looks like Florida State is creeping its way into that. And then there's everybody else. I mean, we were talking about this on the way down. It's not just Alabama and LSU anymore. I mean, you could turn on the SEC and Vanderbilt's beating Georgia, and Missouri's going to Georgia and beating Florida. Mississippi has become a pretty good program. So I think that the SEC has clearly separated itself. You raised one point, though, that I think is kind of interesting, and it's probably another discussion, but rivalry games. Rivalries are it's not really a rivalry until the other guy wins consistently. And I think the last few years, Ohio State's kind of had their way with about everybody. Michigan
Penn State beat them in 05. Yeah. Penn State beat them in 08. That's Penn State's 2 best wins since 1994, probably. And then also they beat them a couple years ago with Matt McGloin. So Penn State has had some pockets of success against Ohio State.
Absolutely, they have. But, I think when you talk about rivalry, Michigan is Ohio State's rival.
Exactly.
And Michigan State is Michigan's rival. And Penn State has lacked that since they came into the Big Ten. Pitt was Penn State's rival. And then Penn State has lost that. Sure. We've been over that. But I think when you talk about true rival, I think this is probably the biggest rival from Penn State's perspective that's on the schedule.
Line's about 13.5, 14. So you've got it a little closer than that.
I picked it Ohio State 31, Penn State 20.
I'm going 34-20. I'm right on the line, so I'm wavering.
Hurt.
Again,
you're on the fence.
I make these predictions before the lines come out, so I'm sticking with my. To beat them, you got to stop Braxton Miller. That's the bottom line.
They had trouble doing that. They were in the game last year. Maybe they'll take it. I thought your question was interesting in the sense that Central Florida goes to Louisville and won last week.
That's a good loss.
I wonder whether this team takes some confidence out of that.
Yeah.
Obviously they slipped against Indiana, and Bill O'Brien kind of joked about that today, that anybody want to talk about Indiana.
Yeah. All right, for Neil Riddell, I'm Corey Geiger. Appreciate Steve Petrella for doing the video for us today.